Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out. Ready to start another year. Got to say hello to a lot of you. Please don't be shy and come say hello following the formal part of this. For those folks that I haven't had a chance to say hello to personally yet. But another beautiful Seattle day here to welcome and kick off the stadium and the season tomorrow. So excited about a lot of things. New field plays a lot softer. We'll let Brad talk about that. But that's good stuff, and I think we've begun remaking our team a little bit. Unfortunately, we're still not going to have any news with respect to Obafemi Martins, as that transaction is not formally legally concluded. We are still hopeful and optimistic that it will, but unfortunately, we don't have any updates on that. But we are really excited to start the season against Club America, one of the toughest opponents we'll face all year, and we're really excited about some of the young players that we've been able to add in particular going forward. And we'll spend some time talking about that today as well.
Not really much from me. I was too long-winded with my team already in the pregame meeting, so I won't say a whole lot, except I'm excited and happy to see you all here.
Yeah, you can start the questions.
Who would like the first question from the group? Matt Pence, take us home.
Brad, what were your impressions of the turf today?
Yeah, night and day. I think 2 years ago it was us, UW, and the Seahawks that were all playing on it through September from the end of the season. So it's great. I think it actually plays really, really nice. With the turf before, it was so matted down. Definitely bouncy, and when it was wet, it didn't play true. But this one, I think, even though it was wet yesterday, it played pretty true. I think we still have a little bit of tinkering to do with the amount of sand, the amount of rubber that's going to be in there. Because it is a long turf. It's a good couple inches, and so toying with the depth and how we want to play on it will be key moving forward. But yeah, I thought today I haven't heard any complaints. I think it's definitely a lot softer than before. I think the joints are feeling better even after 2 days of being on it. So from that standpoint, very pleased with the turf.
Don.
For Garth, I guess, any non-OVA roster news? I think maybe specifically, can you update us on Damian Lowe and also maybe Nathan Sturgis, if there's a change in his status?
We've signed Nathan Sturgis, and he's eligible to play tomorrow. So that's an exciting addition. Former Sounder coming back and rejoining the team. Damian Lowe's on trial right now and is training with Minnesota. So those are those two specific updates. In general, from a roster perspective, we're basically full, but we do have some ability still to tweak and add and subtract. We don't have to be MLS roster compliant until March 1st, so we do still have some time with a lot of that stuff.
Nico.
Garth, on that same question, any news on Roberto Chen and maybe possibilities of making the team, or is there a spot for him?
We'll see. It all depends in the big picture in terms of how you shape the entire roster, and every roster choice you make impacts multiple positions and has multiple salary cap slots that you're trying to fill or not fill. So, the good news, if the Martins transaction is concluded, is that it would give us a lot more flexibility from a roster and salary cap perspective. We still have to be mindful of how many foreign players we have. We're at 8 foreign players right now, which is our maximum. But we do again have some ability within that context to add and subtract some guys and to continue to add players if we think they're good enough.
Jackson.
Coach Sigi, what have you seen from Jordan Morris over the last few weeks and month? And do you think he's ready to kind of come into the big role on this team?
I think he's ready to play in the league. I thought he was ready to play in the league a year ago. He made the decision to go back to university, which worked out well for him with an NCAA championship. But he's what he is. He's a strong, powerful player. He's got good speed. He's the kind of guy who can stretch the opponent's defense. He's a handful because he is stocky and hard to get around at times, and he's a good hard worker. So I think he's a very good addition to our team.
Andrew.
Is there a more definite timeline for Roman Torres' return to health, and when you might start thinking about trying to integrate him into practices or the lineup?
Not a real more definite timeline. He's still like what I would call in the phase 2 of his rehab. at this stage, which is really the phase of starting to run, starting to do individual work, starting to get your strength back up, and he's progressing really, really well. He's probably ahead of schedule in terms of that. His attitude's been fantastic throughout his entire rehab. It's the one thing, he's always got a smile on his face. And, I think probably within, I would say probably maybe a month, he's probably ready to go into the next phase, which is really about now playing and cutting and, interacting. But even today already, he was, a couple of guys passed him the ball and he was passing it back. So he's getting anxious. He's getting ready.
Other questions? Masvita?
Hey, this is for Coach Schmid. Can you talk about the state of the team fitness and then kind of where the communication between the players and position-wise in terms of the offensive flow?
Yeah, fitness-wise, I think we're pretty good. One of our goals in preseason was, it was not so important to be 100% fit if we were injured. So the point was to get through preseason and be as healthy as possible, and I think we've gotten through preseason pretty healthy. And fitness-wise, I thought on the wet stuff, I know Brad played in it. It was a heavy pitch down in LA, and the majority of the guys went 70, 75, 80 minutes, which is a really good test on that sort of pitch. So I feel pretty good about where we are. Is our match fitness exactly where it needs to be? No, you only get that, by playing a game after game after game. The communication side of players to each other, I think guys are still getting to know each other. Jordan hasn't really trained with us all that much, hasn't played all that much with us. Getting to know him. Jovin Jones, has played a lot, but it's still more time, more time with him in conjunction with the center backs, in conjunction with who's ever in front of him. Is it Dempsey? Is it Morris? Is it different people? The coordination in midfield is a little bit better because, those three have been able to play and train together a lot in preseason. And you got to add Christian Roldan to that mix because he's shown that he can step in and we don't miss much of a beat when he steps in. So I think the overall cohesion is pretty good.
Jeremiah?
For Sigi, I guess America signed Blanco today. You have any good Blanco stories to share?
I did not hear that. I did not know that. Is he somehow cup tied in this tournament? I don't know. I don't know.
Celebrate their 100th anniversary.
I don't know how many retirements and unretirements he's made. Blanco has come back an awful lot. I mean, he's never a guy who was a real speedy guy who got around the field a lot, but he's a guy who always found time and space with the ball, and he's just, he's a competitor. I don't have any great Blanco stories, per se. Ante might a little bit more because of his time. I don't think Ante was with him in Chicago, but I don't know if Brad's played against him. You played against him?
Yeah, 2007, 2008, he was in Chicago, and that was our conference final. Playing against them. No good Blanco stories, just that little move that he does is all he signifies his whole
where he sort of
hopping
catches
around
the
a little
ball
bit
between his legs and hops out of it, and, then does something, but.
Tim Booth.
Brad, the Mexican sides that you've faced in the past, what are some of the characteristics of those clubs, and how is maybe America from what you've seen different?
Yeah, I think experienced, number one. I think most of those clubs have had a very specific style of play for 10, 15, 20 years. And I think, from a U10 age, they're coached the exact same way at a young age. So when one player steps out, another one steps in. That's fits the mold almost. So it depends on which club you're at, I think, down there. But for the most part, I think historically, obviously, they've been very good, especially in this competition. So for us, something to be aware of is the historical part of it, knowing that, they've got that in the back of their pocket. So, but at some point you got to break the mold. And for us, I think this is as good a time to play this team. I think we're feeling fresh. I think this is a first choice lineup for us. And I think the guys are hungry, and this will be our first 90 minutes of the preseason. But yeah, when thinking about these clubs, is very gifted, very talented, surprisingly fast and strong, but also a very smart team too.
Stephen Agent.
Brad, does the new turf, does that take some time for you guys to adjust to, or do you maintain your advantage over Club America with that? Because they don't ever play on turf.
Yeah, I think last year's turf was more of an advantage for us. Just the way that it played. I think teams were shell shocked when they came in here. Teams wouldn't even travel. Henri wouldn't travel here. Certain players wouldn't even travel to come play here. So I think that says something about the old turf. And this is a bit similar to obviously Portland. Play a little bit. Like it does down there. It's the same turf, I think. Vancouver had a good turf last year. So I don't know if it's a real advantage. Obviously, we've gotten to train on it a couple days, and we're used to playing on turf more than anything. But like I said, this plays truer than any turf that we've had in the past. So the fact that they don't train on it, I think, the length of this grass is a little bit longer, like I said. So I think they won't have a problem with it. But if it's something that we can put in the back of our heads to spur us on a certain moment, then maybe it does.
Arteel.
Garth, the dithering around Martin's contract, especially this late in the year, how much does that compromise your ability to find a DP slot?
I don't know that it compromises anything. I mean, the timing is not ideal. I think that's stating the obvious. When you lose a player that's had an impact in your club last couple of years, a couple weeks before your season, that's not how you choose to do it. But it is what it is, and you got to adjust. And we got a lot of good players here. If you look at the team we're going to field tomorrow against Club America, it's going to look, I think, have 9 or 10 of the same guys that started in the playoffs for us last year, and we obviously feel like. We are healthier certainly than we were in that Dallas playoff game. Brad's back, among others. So I think we feel good about our team. And is it disruptive? Is it the way we would have planned it? No. But you always have contingency plans in place, and we're going to take our time, and we're going to replace Oba. Maybe not position for position, maybe not player for player, but I think some of the replacements going to come from the group. In terms of how we collectively play. And I also think that we're going to look to add some more talent. As I said, if this transaction concludes, we have some roster and some salary cap flexibility to go look at players. But in a perfect world, I don't want 3 DP forwards. I don't think we want that. We want, particularly when arguably our best young player in Jordan Morris is also a forward. We'd like to have some more balance in the team front to back. And I think that's one of the things that we'll look at. And, the last thing I'd add is I totally understand the anxiety in the community when you lose a player of Obafemi Martin's stature. But if you look at the result against the LA Galaxy and how well we played within the new system, you also don't want to rush into anything. So nobody's blowing out of proportion a preseason result, and that's not the intention. But just want to emphasize that we're going to be cautious about this because we believe we have a good team. We believe we have a lot of good players. Might we look different than last year? Yeah. But can we be successful with the team we have? We believe what we can, and certainly, again, we'll keep all our options open.
Don.
For Ziggy, a couple of questions, I think, on Club America. Their game this weekend, did the way that they approach that give you any clarity of what you expect them to bring tomorrow? And also, do you coach or plan differently tomorrow in light of a return leg in Mexico City?
Well, the game on the weekend brought a little bit of clarity, obviously, because Munoz got injured, their goalkeeper, and Benedetto got injured. So you knew that Peralta and Quintero got red cards. So chances are they're playing against us versus sitting, because they can't play on the weekend anyway. So that gives you a little bit of a feel as to what's going on. You try and look at who have they played in their past Champions League games versus who played in the regular season, so that gives you a little bit of an idea of their lineup. Playing home versus playing away first, it's a 2-legged series, but playing home, the most important thing for sure is to keep a clean sheet. If we can go down there, and have not given up an away goal here, I think that's important for our team. Winning is also important. Getting as many goals as we can is important, but certainly not giving away a goal, because if we don't give away a goal and win the game, that forces them to come at us down there and opens up possibilities for us to counter and get an away goal, which puts added pressure on them. So winning the game is important to us, and making sure that we don't give up a goal. And somebody asked earlier about the advantage of the turf. I think our advantage is our 30,000 fans, 40,000 fans that come. That's our advantage. The turf is part of it and has been part of it in the past, but our real advantage of always being at home is our crowd and our fans and our atmosphere and how things go for us that way.
Matt?
Ziggy, Garth touched on it, but from your perspective, what does the addition of Nate Sturgis mean for your roster?
Nate's a solid player. He's an accomplished player. I think you know what Nate can do for you. And my history with Nate goes all the way back to the Youth World Championships in 2005, and he actually played during those World Championships. He played as a center back. So now he's pretty much a midfielder, but he's technically very sound. He's got 2 good feet. Hits a great ball. Finds his passes, completes his passes. Good guy in the locker room, gets along with the guys, wanted to be here, which is also an important aspect for us. So he gives us a little bit of a veteran presence coming off the bench in midfield, which, it's a long season. You need some of those guys as well, and our competition's good. And when I look at our trainings and I look at sometimes one group playing against the other group, there's some pretty good football, not only from the starting group, there's good football from the second group as well, and I think Nate helps that.
Jackson.
For Sigi, you mentioned Jovin Jones a little bit earlier. You said it's early, but how has he fit so far as defensive 4, and has anything surprised you from what you've seen from him?
I mean, he's done pretty much what I've expected him to do. We knew he had pace. We knew he had an ability to get forward. We knew he was technically pretty clean. So we knew all those things. There was probably a little question out there, does he defend enough? Some people felt, but I think his defending has been good. Has been better than maybe what's been put out there about him. Brad can maybe answer it better. Because he's out there on the field with them. But certainly from my standpoint as a coach, I've been happy with him.
Yeah, I think obviously a tremendous athlete. I didn't get to play against Chicago last year, so I didn't know much about him. Obviously with Chicago's season, I think he was their bright spot. Sean Johnson in camp was blown away that we were able to acquire him. He thought that he was their best player last year. So from that standpoint, obviously he was an exciting addition. I think it's exactly what we needed to fill that spot. He's been great in the locker room. He's a quiet guy, but he gets the job done on the field. So you can't ask for anything more than that. We'll see how the partnership blooms with, if Clint's playing on that left-sided forward, but what I saw the other day is, it's promising and exciting. So from that standpoint, really happy with him.
Please.
Garth, so if the Martins deal does go through, do you have a timeline for filling that designated player spot?
We don't. There are some roster moves we can make where we can, as you guys know, Ozzy was a DP here, and we made him a TAM player, and it's without getting too far in the weeds, we can make Ozzy a DP player, and that could be temporary or it could be long term. And so, might we immediately add one? Technically, yeah, we might if we decide that the best cap treatment is to make Ozzy a DP. But it's not like we're going to have an immediate reaction and say we're going to go out and immediately try to find another striker or any other player. That said, we're well prepared and we're looking. But again, it's. I think this is really important to emphasize again. We believe in the guys that are here. We believe in the guys that were very, very close to advancing in the playoffs last year. Guys that won 15 games unbeaten at the end of last season. We've talked a lot of the offseason about getting younger and faster, and I believe we've done that, and I believe you see it when you see our second team out there training. And we've done, I think, a better job of aligning first-tier guys and second-tier guys in terms of style of play. Brad talked about partnerships on the side. You have an older player in Clint in the left wing. You have a younger player behind him in Jovin Jones who can provide a lot of pace and energy. On the other side, you have it in reverse. Jordan Morris is a younger player, can do a lot of the running, and Tyrone Mears is an older player who maybe you don't want to ask to do quite as much for 34 games. So I think we've put more structures in place from how we train to how we build our team, and I think that's going to allow us to be successful. But again, the players are ultimately the ones that are going to get this done, and we think we have a pretty good team.
Nico, you still have a question?
Yes. Brad, obviously, Club America played 6+ games. They're kind of in great rhythm. What can the Sounders do, just come in from the preseason, do to counter and be able to become successful against Club America?
Yeah, I mean, we've had success in this tournament playing at home in this game. Obviously we can talk about the Santos game, and then the ultimate test is going down there and playing. We know that we can get results at home, no matter who it's against. We've always gotten results here, and no matter who's been on the field. So we have to remember that we're a very good home team, but the ultimate test is then playing a week later at Azteca. So I think tomorrow we've got to be smart. Obviously it's our first game with, repercussions of, you concede a goal, you find yourself digging out of that, and that's the reality of it. So we've got to be smart. We've got to take the game. We got to take the game to them, but also know that we can score goals at any time. So if it doesn't come within the first 15, 20 minutes, that's okay. We can find our goals at certain points. But like Zig said, it's holding it to zero because you want to give yourself the best advantage going down there playing at altitude, heat in Mexico.
Jeremiah.
Yeah, Brad, what was kind of the reaction inside the locker room when you guys learned that Oba might be leaving?
Yeah, I think, like to echo what these guys said, it's not an ideal time. I think we all understand the decision, I guess. The circumstance, the money factor, I think we can all wrap our head around that. But it's obviously not ideal timing. So it's the way our calendar falls. It's the way that's the beast that it is right now, the way that we're, the transfer window and the way that our season is. So it's unfortunate to lose him at the start of the season, but at the same time, I think we can all agree that if we could choose a player right now to step in, it would be Jordan. So I think everybody inside the locker room has been extremely happy. We haven't really spoken about Oba at all. So from that standpoint, I think if we thought that there was something missing, I think there would be more chatter, but the reality is we've been extremely happy with Jordan. Like Zig said, last year would have been great, but at the same time, I think he's developed to an even smarter player now. I think we're very happy with him.
Art.
Sigi, obviously Jordan's a very smart, mature kid for 21, but what do you tell him about the difference between college ball and pro?
He's already been exposed to it a little bit, with his opportunities with the national team. He's already had that exposure with his opportunities with the Olympic team, even the training stint that he had at Werder Bremen. I could see it. I remember seeing him when he was a young player, when he was still in high school, and there's certain qualities, you'll see it a little bit tomorrow night. He's a player who knows how to use his body really well. He knows how to bump off the defender at the right time and let the defender bump him into the ball rather than getting bumped off the ball. He had that early on. It's something you try and teach, but not all the guys learn it, and it's something that he had instinctively. So, he's a pretty mature kid. He's still a young player, and all young players are going to have ups and downs. So we've got to ride the downs with him, and we got to also be there on the ups. But, the key is with good players is the valleys are very short and deep, and you come out of them, and you're off again onto another plateau. And I think that's the thing with Jordan. So, there's not, there's enough guys out there talking to him about things to do, whether it's a Valdez or a Dempsey or, people, holding them off. Ante Razov works a lot with our forwards. And, for me, it's more the psychological, be strong, know that you can compete, know that you can play with this guy. Don't be in awe of the name or whatever he has. But I think he's had enough experiences that's not going to be an issue.
Masvita.
Hey, Brad, how important will ball possession be tomorrow and also defensive marking in terms of keeping the offensive play in front of you for the back line?
Yeah, I think with their two strikers, no matter who they play up top, they've obviously built a relationship. So they usually rotate between three strikers, and whoever plays tomorrow will be a difficult task. They're proven forwards who've won this competition, played for their national teams. So that's obviously a cut above. I think for us, possession is huge at home. Especially with our style of play, switching into whatever it is, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. Sometimes it looks like a 4-5-1. Possession is key. And they play pretty much a straight-up 4-4-2. So finding gaps in behind their lines of four are going to be huge. Using Jordan's speed on the wings, using Tyrone's ability to service the ball, and on the opposite side, Jordan as well. So really focusing on us more than what they're going to do. We can't get caught up too much in what the other team's trying to do. We have to focus on us.
Andrew.
See, what does this team have to do to be better at defending set pieces than they were last year?
I think at the end of the year, I thought we were pretty good at defending set pieces. The set piece where we took a goal late against Dallas was really a player forgetting his assignment and not being at the near post where he was supposed to be. And if you remember that play or that header, if the guy's at the near post, he heads it off the line, and it's not an issue. I think we struggled in the middle of the season on our defending of set pieces. We changed a couple of things in practice, how we approached it, the way we talked about it in the last practice, making sure that guys were aware of what their assignments were. And, I thought from after that point in our last 6-7 games where we're actually getting a lot of set piece goals and we weren't conceding any, and so that's something we want to continue to do as we go into this season. But it's just a matter of people remembering what their assignments are and carrying out their functions.